Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Ooh, the mainstream media's worst enemy, the mainstream media's kryptonite, an honest, apolitical individual. The mainstream media doesn't deal in news. You know, they're called news networks, they pretend to deal in news and information, but what they really deal in is pushing narratives, creating narratives, and promoting BS propaganda. And of course, what is the enemy of propaganda? It's honesty. What is the enemy of lies? Very simply, it's honesty. That is the mainstream media's worst fear. Somebody who tells the truth, or somebody who hasn't bought into any partisan narratives. You know, the leftist media has been saying a whole lot about the Trump trials. They've been saying a whole lot during this jury selection process. They want you to live in this make-believe world where these Trump indictments are legitimate, and any talk about an unfair trial or an unfair jury is just yet again Donald Trump throwing a tantrum. You know, Michael Cohen said this the other day.
It's the same thing over and over again. Poor Donald the victim. He's now being, the target of the Biden administration. There's, for all of us, the average people, then there's those in power, and then there's Donald Trump, who seems to be able to skirt the law whenever he wants and however he wants. I don't acknowledge what these folks are saying.
They're promoting this woe is me narrative. Donald Trump just plays the victim all the time, but he's really a criminal. But is that really the case, or is there some truth to what the Trump camp is saying? Well, unfortunately for the media, it seems as though once again their narratives have been completely exposed, and once again there is significant truth to what Trump is saying and to the grievances that his legal team are espousing. Let me show you guys what's going on, as a lot has been revealed after one of the potential jurors has been interviewed. The truth is slowly coming out. We got a bunch more information relating to the jurors. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's one of the potential jurors. She was identified simply as Kat. This woman initially was sworn in as a juror, but the next morning she called into the court and said, I don't think that I can be impartial, so I'm going to recuse myself. And here she is getting interviewed.
I do. This is Kat. She runs a VC fund here in Manhattan for folks that are over 60 years of age. She was just dismissed as a potential juror. What happened? Why were you dismissed?
Because I couldn't be impartial.
You couldn't be impartial. So when the judge asked that hand, can you be impartial? You raised your hand and you said you cannot.
Exactly.
Wow. So Anna is our anchor who's in the chair right now, and she's just wondering, as we're talking about this idea of duty, right, and this idea of being fair and impartial, do you feel like the people that you were speaking with in that jury room that you sat with all day on Tuesday, that they can put together a fair and impartial jury because of that sense of duty? Do you think that's possible?
I'm not sure about that.
Couple very interesting little tidbits there. Firstly, the one question that we keep asking ourselves is, can Donald Trump get a fair trial? Can he have a fair, impartial jury overseeing this case? And the answer was quite clear. The initial answer was, I don't know, I don't think so. But I hope so. Not exactly fitting the left-wing narrative now, is it? This woman seems very fair, very balanced. She recused herself because she thought she couldn't be impartial. Many people are speculating that she's a Trump supporter, or that she likes Donald Trump, and she's being incredibly honest in her approach here. So you have a woman here of potentially incredibly high moral character and honesty, who spent the entire day with all of the potential jurors, and she is telling you outright, she is completely countering the popular left-wing narrative, saying it explicitly that she doesn't believe that Trump can get a fair trial. Not exactly what leftists were hoping for, huh? But that's not the only interesting tidbit. There was also this part.
And that was my first call. And that
so
was,
you just became a citizen of the United States, so that means you've never voted in a presidential election.
Exactly.
You get called to be a juror, and this is the jury that you are called to.
Yes.
What was that? Is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
I know.
What was your impression of Donald Trump when you saw him?
He looked less orange, definitely, like more yellowish, like yellow. Nothing else than that. He doesn't look angry, or I think he looks bored, like he wants this to finish and go do his stuff. That's how,
Did you have any
I guess that allows us to come to the conclusion that once again, the leftist media lied. It's been nothing but outrage over the last, couple months or so. Donald Trump is intimidating the jury. He's a thug, a wannabe gangster. I played these two clips yesterday.
there was some back and forth between the lawyers, and then the judge actually admonished the former president because he was huffing and puffing and gesturing towards the juror. He said the judge said it was completely inappropriate, and he said, "I won't tolerate it. I won't have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom."
So, it's time to do something different. Like, we're not going to have this conversation again. I have come on the air with breaking news about requests for gag orders because of threats for judges and their kids more times than I could count today before I got ready.
And might as well add this clip from political analyst Tim O'Brien at MSNBC, a guy who, by the way, has built a career off attacking Donald Trump since the early 2000s. Definitely impartial media, right? Impartial media, just like the jury's impartial in New York City. Give me a frickin' break.
Tim, you know these tactics. You know this man. This is a slightly different setting, his first criminal trial.
It's a slightly different setting, but he's up to his same old tricks that he's always been up to. And the reason I think Michael was hired, he was hired to be an enforcer for Trump. He wasn't hired to do contract law. And the culture of the Trump organization was built on intimidation and threats and media chutzpah. It wasn't built on brilliant business decisions. And when Andrew mentioned earlier about the similarities here and in mob trials that mobsters that he prosecuted, Trump has always fetishized the mobsters. He told me his model for how to behave in court was John Gotti.
Donald Trump always uses these tactics of intimidation. He's inspired by thugs and mobsters. All right, little Timmy boy, thanks for your 2 cents. But anyways, the narrative is that Donald Trump is intimidating the jury. Well, apparently, that isn't the case at all. From somebody, again, with a seemingly very honest track record, from inside the process, one of the potential jurors, somebody who was sworn in as a juror, she claims the exact opposite is true. Trump wasn't even looking at the jurors, and for the most part, he just seems uninterested, like he doesn't want to be there, like he just wants to move on with his day. All the outrage, all these tantrums that we've been seeing on air, and tantrum is the right word considering, how Nicole Wallace was acting the other week. It's all a freaking lie. Everything surrounding Donald Trump, all of these stories, all of these narratives, all of these cases are built on mountains of lies. For Pete's sakes, the case itself is built on a mountain of lies. Throughout that interview, the anchor kept going on and on about how historic this case is. Historical, how important and historic. How historic. Oh my God. What a moment in history. It's a very important case. Is it really? No, it isn't. There's nothing historic about this other than the historical stain that the Democrats are putting on the American justice system. Historic case, my derriere. I'm no legal scholar, so I'll just once again refer to Jonathan Turley, constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley. He breaks down the case perfectly.
The opponents of Trump would have been far better off with just one case, the Mar-a-Lago case. That's based on real law, real precedent. One can disagree with the interpretations, but it's not a reach in the sense of this case. This case is creating something. It's creating a criminal code just for Trump. It was just recently that a federal judge really eviscerated Cohen and said that you are a serial perjurer and you're still gaming the system. That wasn't last year. That was just recently. And he's going to take this stand as the central witness. But what is really bizarre here is he's basically saying, put my former client in jail for following my legal advice. Now, a lot of jurors be sort of scratching their head about that one. In this case, you're taking this misdemeanor, reviving it because it was dead, suggesting a crime that doesn't exist, and then hitting Trump with dozens of counts. Most citizens, at least outside New York, see that for what it is. It's the weaponization of the criminal justice system.
That pretty much sums up the case. Their star witness, a known perjurer, a felon, the charges themselves, a misdemeanor that's well beyond the statute of limitation that the FEC looked into and found no crime. They didn't even want to pursue the thing, but Alvin Bragg decided to pick it up because, well, politics. How historic. There's nothing historic about any of this. There's nothing significant about any of this. It's just clear political persecution, political interference, election interference, and the left keeps getting exposed in all of their lies. The mountain of lies continues to grow bigger and taller and taller. And the biggest lie of all is that this whole process is free of bias, that New York is going to give Donald Trump a fair trial, as Eric Adams said.
Are you confident that jurors in your city will be fair to former President Trump?
Our city is a fair city. That's why they're on the jury. Both sides decide, and they interview and make the determination.
Give me a frickin' break. Once again, constitutional lawyer, constitutional expert, and scholar Jonathan Turley was right.
And so they're working around the edges to try to show bias. The most important thing here is to try to isolate the worst of the jurors. Those are jurors who just desperately want to be on this jury. Many people will want to be, but are prepared to lie to do so.
And that is exactly what's happening. People are lying to try to get on this case, to get in the jury pool so they can convict Donald Trump in an effort to aid Joe Biden so he can shuffle on back into the White House. We're now learning that the second juror who was sworn in just got dismissed by the judge because he lied about his political past.
That this has to do with something that very well could have been the fact that this juror may have been arrested back in the 1990s conducting some type of political vandalism against something, posters on the right, and it was not revealed, or he did not remember it and did not include it, and that is why that juror has been dismissed.
Oh, what's this? Wow, amazing. We're just learning that we have a video clip of this supposed juror and his act of vandalism targeting right-wing political signs. Now, obviously, I'm kidding. Those are viral clips from back in the 2016 election. Don't accuse me of fake news. It's a joke. Just like this whole frickin' case is one big fat joke.